Hello everyone and welcome to my final project presentation. And since we are dealing with a global crisis at the moment, I decided to look for a meeting dealing with a crisis. During the 4th of July weekend in 2019, Ridgecrest experienced earthquakes at high levels of high frequencies, and people have lost their homes. They were struggling to get back to normal, and only 2 days followed before a town meeting was arranged to discuss everything. And if you guys don't know, fun fact, that magnitude was about equal to the bombings done on Hiroshima in the 1940s during World War II. So you can only imagine the damage caused to these people's homes. The atmosphere was very frigid at first, which is expected of a meeting for following a crisis. Prior to this, no handouts were given and no visuals were shown. However, they were given websites and contact information to visit after the meeting was finished. And the atmosphere lightened up as people had told jokes and people had gotten answers to their questions. And the facilitation process was pretty messy since this was delivered only 2 days after the disaster had occurred. Some speakers were not properly introduced, and some speakers did not speak clearly. The microphone was kind of in and out, and the Q&A process resembled that of a Comic-Con panel. Basically, someone raises their hand and another person runs to them with a microphone if they have questions. This is kind of a messy way of doing a Q&A, in my opinion. Now, the questions asked were the same questions that anyone asks in a natural disaster. Basically, how will people with disabilities gain access to transportation to get their groceries or head to a shelter if their homes were destroyed? What resources could be used to help them during this time? And when will their lives return to normal? Which is basically the question everyone is asking right now during this pandemic. And the decisions made, the police had actually volunteered to transport people to and from sites for people with disabilities. Contacts were given to them prior to the meeting, during the meeting, and after the meeting to people who had needed them. And they didn't know when life would return to normal, but they commended the citizens for being resilient and encouraged them to continue taking precautions if this event were to happen again. Overall, the meeting was pretty decent, considering it was only 2 days after a natural disaster. It wasn't the most organized meeting. If I were to change anything, I would definitely change the way they had done questions and answers. I would have had people form a line at a microphone rather than having someone run around with a microphone. But that was a good method of crisis communication.